So 1.5 segment and angle bisectors. So just as a refresher, we're going to need the midpoint formula for this section. So that is x1 plus x2 over 2 and y1 plus y2 over 2 gives us the coordinate for that. So the first problem, say to find the coordinates of the midpoint of a segment with the given endpoints. So 18, we have the point J, which is -1, 7, and K, which is 3, -3. And we're going to use these to find the midpoint between J and K. So we set it up and we plug in the numbers. So -1 plus 3 over 2. And then for the second number, 7 plus -3, so 7 minus 3 over 2. So that's going to give me 2 over 2 and 4 over 2, which reduces to 1, 2. And that would be our midpoint of that one. '21. We have the point S, which is 0, -8, and the point T, which is -6, 14. So we're going to plug in for the midpoint. I've got 0 plus -6, so 0 minus 6 over 2, and -8 plus 14 over 2. So this is -6 over 2 and +6 over 2. So then my midpoint is at -3, 3. Questions on those? The next ones are going to be like the one we looked at yesterday, where they give you one endpoint and the midpoint, and then we need to find the other endpoint. So 25. R is 2, 6, and M, which will always represent our midpoint, or at least in this section, is -1, 1. Does anybody remember how we needed to set up yesterday to find the other endpoint? I mean, I know we just did one of them, but I'm just curious if we remember. Go, Mia.
You do the division problem and then put the 2 at the bottom.
And then do what?
You put in the ones for R.
Yep. So we set it up just like our normal midpoint, but I'm going to split the X part and the Y part so I can work the 2 separate problems down. So I'm going to have basically x1 plus x2 over 2 is equal to -1. I'm going to replace this x1 with my x from the R coordinate, so that's going to be 2. And then I'm going to do the same thing for y. So I'm going to go ahead and set it up, and then I'll work them both down. So y is y1 plus y2 over 2 is equal to +1. But I replaced y1 just like I did the x1 with 6 from the R coordinate. And then now I just need to solve my basic algebra equation for each of the variables. So I've got 2 plus x2 is equal to, we multiply by 2, so that's negative 2. Then subtract 2, x2 is equal to negative 4. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the y. Multiply by 2. So 6 plus y2 is equal to 2. And then subtract 6. Y2 is equal to negative 4. So my coordinate is, or my other endpoint, you can either just write it as a point, or if you want to call it something like S or whatever, you can also do that, but would be negative 4, negative 4. So that's going to be the other endpoint for that one. So if you wanted to go back and check to make sure you did it right, you could use the point R in this one and solve for the midpoint. And if you get negative 1, 1, then you know that you did it right. So that's a way you can go back and check your work after in case you're not sure if you did it right or not. Another one of these ones, 29. A is 6, 7. And then our midpoint is 10, negative 7. So I'm going to set up my x coordinate. So I've got 6 plus x2. And if you just want to say x instead of writing x2, like that's also fine. Over 2 is equal to the midpoint value of 10. And then y, it's the y value of a, so 7 plus y2 over 2 is equal to negative 7. So I'm going to multiply by 2. So I've got 6 plus x2 is equal to 20. Subtract 6, x2 is equal to 14. Other one, multiply by 2. 7 plus y2 is equal to negative 14. And then subtract 7. Y2 is equal to negative 21. So our point is 14, negative 21. So that's our other endpoint. And again, you could check that if you wanted to make sure that you did it correctly. Questions on these? So your work should look like mine when I check your homework. If it doesn't, I'm not taking it. Okay? We're not doing any more of this writing an answer and not writing the question or anything like that. It just won't be taken anymore if you do that. All right, the next ones. Use the marks on the diagram to name the congruent segments and congruent angles. So 31, it's a triangle, and it's triangle ABC. It has these markings on here. And so we want to say what segments are congruent and what angles are congruent. So remember, if there's like one single line through like two different sides, that says that those two sides are congruent. And the angles, if there's like one little arc through, it says that they're congruent. Now another option, just a quick little side note over here. Okay, if I have a rectangle, it may be marked like this. Okay, that means that these two sides are congruent, and then these two sides are congruent. Okay, so if there's like double markings, it's whatever its like pair is, like a match game. It's whatever its pair is the thing. And same thing with the angles. If there were like more angles and they were different, they could be marked a different way to show that there's like two more angles that are congruent to each other. So anyways, that's just for reference. All right, so over here we want to say which segments are congruent and which angles are congruent. So the segments that are congruent are AC and BC. Now, you can obviously write them as CA and CB if you want. That doesn't matter. We just normally write alphabetical order, but it would not be wrong if you flipped them. And then my angles, I have angle A and angle B. So I can either write it as like angle A and angle B. Or another way, just as a refresher that we can write them, is angle CAB and angle ABC, or obviously we could reorder them, but as long as whatever it is the letter in the middle, that's fine. But I would just do angle A and angle B that way. Questions on that? Okay. Let's see. $37. QS is array, and it is the angle bisector of angle PQR. Find the two angle measures not given in the diagram. So basically, we have this picture that looks something like this. And this is P, this is Q, S, and R. And then in here, this is 22 degrees. So they're telling us that angle QS is an angle bisector. What does that mean?
It goes in the middle of it.
Yeah, it splits it exactly in half. So we know that angle RQS or SQR, however you want to say it, is 22 degrees. What does that mean about angle PQS? Yep, so remember, if we're giving a degree value, we put the M in front of the angle for measure. So the measure of angle PQS is also 22 degrees. Now, it said in the instructions it wants the value of the two missing angles, okay? So we have this one, we now have this one. I need the whole angle PQR. So the measure of PQR would be 22 plus 22, which is 44 degrees. So that would be the other missing piece. $42. Same instructions here. The picture just looks a little different. So we've got R down here, S and P, and then this is drawn around like this. So this one's a little bit different, okay? When they draw the arc all the way through like this, that means that that's the value of the entire angle, okay? If they were going to show that these two things were congruent, they would not do them side by side. They would offset them like that. Now, we know because it's an angle bisector, they have to be congruent, but they don't have them marked that way. So this is what it looks like. So that means that we know then a given thing is that the measure of angle PQR is 124 degrees. I need to find the measure of angle PQS and the measure of angle RQS. Now, what do I know about those two angles?
They're congruent.
They're going to be congruent. How do you think I need to find them?
Divide 124 by 2.
Yep, divide 124 by 2. And what would that be?
62.
Yep, 62 degrees. So 62 degrees would be both of those. Questions on that?
When we do our homework problems and there's angles like that, do you want us to draw the angles?
No, you don't have to. But if you want to, so you can like write on them and stuff, obviously you can. But as far as everything else, so like the problem should be copied, but the picture you don't have to because you have it to look at in your book. We have a new set of figures, but kind of a similar setup to this. Ray BD bisects angle ABC. Find the value of X. So 45, we have this angle, and we have a bisector. This is B, C, D, and A. And then they tell us that right here is equal to 5x minus 22 degrees, and this one here is 2x plus 35 degrees. So they are giving us the same information as the last problems were, but now we're solving for x to see what the actual angle value is. So if I know that it's a bisector, what do I know has to be true about 2x plus 35 and 5x minus 22?
They're going to be the same.
Yep, they're going to be the same, so I'm going to set them up as being equal to each other. So 2x plus 35 is equal to 5x minus 22. And then I just need to solve. So how would I do that?
Subtract 2x from 5x.
Yep, so that'll give me 3x over here. And then what about this? What do I need to do?
22 to 35.
Yep, so that'll give me 57. Divide by 3. So x is what?
19.
So x is 19. This is what they want you to solve for, okay? If they ask you to actually find what the angle is, we would just plug it in and we could find it that way. But all they're asking you to do is solve for x. Let's see. One more. 49. So we've got going up like that, going over. Then my bisector here. This is A, B, D, and C. This time they say that this one is 1/2 x plus 20 degrees, and this one is 3x minus 85 degrees. So what do I need to do to solve for x?
Make them equal to each other.
Start out with them being equal to each other. So 1/2 x plus 20 equals 3x minus 85. Now what?
Add, subtract 20.
What, Mia?
How do you draw like the little circle outside of the parentheses?
It's the degree symbol.
Or, like, why do you draw outside
Because it's showing that that whole thing is at the value of the degree. Normally, we don't have parentheses around them, but because it's like 3x minus 85, we're trying to show that it's going on the whole thing.
the
So
count points on the test or physically did it
No. Because that would be what would be given to you. Like this would already be given to you. So. But if you're like finding an angle value and you're like telling how many degrees it is, you do need to have the degree symbol on it. But it wouldn't look like this. All right, Jonathan, what'd you say I need to do?
Subtract 20.
Subtract 20. So over here, that gives me negative 105. What about this 3x?
Subtract that.
So 1/2 x minus 3x. So I would recommend you get a common denominator here, which would be what? So this would be 1/2 x minus 6/2x equals negative 105. So I have negative 5/2 x equals negative 105. Now what do I do?
Make 105 over, or multiply 105 times 2, putting over 2. So they're both 1.
You put it over 1, put 105 over 1 and multiply.
Oh, you could also simplify it. Okay.
Well, I don't need to put 105 over 1. It's just understood that that's the case. But I'm going to multiply by negative 2/5 on both sides. I'm just doing this way so we can see it. So I have x over here. The negatives cancel. 5 goes into 105 how many times? 5 does not go into 105 42 times.
21 times, I think.
21. So then I have 21 times 2. Which I think is whoever said it was trying to give me the answer, yes. So x is 42. So again, if we were trying to find what the actual angle value was, or if you wanted to check your answer and see if you've done it right, you could plug it in to each one individually here and check that they are the same, because they should be equal to each other if you've done it correctly. All right, any questions on that? All right, then problems, and you do actually have some time today that you'll be able to work. 20, 22, 26, 28, 32, 38, whoa, that's not a 3. 41, 44, and 48. And tomorrow will be a review day for the quiz on Friday, so you'll have some review problems to do like we did the other day before the quiz. And you'll have some time to study your vocab as well, because that'll all be on the quiz on Friday.